to this meeting. Today we're going to be talking about response intervention. I'm Miss Lindsay Jordan. I am looking forward to teaching you guys some more on response intervention. There we go. Our goals and agenda today is to know and understand the steps to the RTI process, to give you some intervention options, and to work on classroom management during those interventions, because that's key for them to be effective. The district expectations, I had to speak with Miss Lisa, our principal, about these just to make sure that I understood them so that I could relate them to you guys. And she has already previewed this whole PowerPoint so that it is correct. The plan is for a child in need of academic or behavioral help. We can do RTI for behavior. This RTI presentation is more focused on academics though. The classroom teacher will conduct bi-monthly checks or progress monitoring. It can be specific tests. With DIBELS there's progress monitoring. I'm pretty sure with IXL there's progress monitoring. Or you can just base them on, okay, does the child know the skill? In 2 weeks, if they still don't know it, we need to adjust what we're doing. So you can use formal or informal for progress monitoring. The goal for RTI is to help the child master a missing skill or fill the gaps, reteach skills to try to not let the child qualify for special education services. RTI is the response to intervention. You know, what are we doing? Let's help the child not need services any longer or any at all. And then that'll let us know, okay, they just needed a little help. They can go back into tier 1 and they're doing just fine. Or we need to extend our tier 2 so that we can better meet all those missing gaps. Because by certain grades, the gaps can be bigger and you've got more skills that you need to try to reach. Or like if they're younger, it's, you know, let's get their letters and sounds. Then we can move on. This is a team effort, and I'll go into more of who is on the team. So, and I'll speak about that a lot so that you know you're not alone. We're all in this together. The process. I found this nice little diagram for you. The tiers are tier 1, we start here. This is just regular classroom curriculum and instruction. Tier 2, you get more targeted with the groups. You'll know, you know, Mary and Johnny don't have skill 4.4 in 4th grade or 1.2 in 1st grade. And those are just what you work on with that small group. And then you move on to another small group or a group of skills that more kids need to work on. And then if you see that those tiers through that timeline aren't working, you're going to move on to tier 3. We identify a child in need after tier 1. You got to give good solid teaching to know, okay, I've done my best and our kid's still having trouble. We need to move on to how else can I present this, or who else can I talk to teach it into a different way so that this kid can be met. Document current classroom interventions. You want to write down everything. I have well, anyway, I have a notebook where I write down everything. Oh yes, that's it. It's right underneath those pages. And this isn't formal or fancy, but I'll write down what I did and it'll have the dates on it. Like this one, we got the kids that need to do it. His goals are just set there so that I can have visual to keep up with. Sticky notes help out. And then I'll just date it and write it down. And there's some weeks where I'm better at it and there's some weeks where I'm not. And the kids are getting that RTI process through different interventions. Inform Miss Lisa if a student in your students in your intervention group. So you need to let her know as soon as possible. I've got these kids that are struggling. I just want to let you know that I've already started tier 2, and then she will check on them as she goes as well, just to see, you know, is there progress? Do we need to change it up? And how can I help? Again, this is a team effort. Here's the team. key, how they present the lesson, or what you could do differently. Miss Lisa, she's the first to contact after Tier 1 and 2 are effective. Jen Adams, she's our Special Education LEA. She can help guide you in the process and offer classroom support. Rachel Nolan, she's our elementary school counselor. She will do classroom observations on any kids that go further in the tier process, because she will give, well, as the counselor, she needs to know social, emotional, and how they respond in the classroom. And then we have certified literacy and math interventionists, and we also have paraprofessionals that also help out with intervention groups too. All right, intervention options for Tier 2. We can start here with accommodations, preferential seating. As you can see in my class, we got preferential seating. This is a behavior modification or accommodation. Oral response, if that child is unable to, just looking at the page, it's overwhelming to see all those responses. You can ask them and they can tell you the answer orally, and you can write on their oral response, and that is credible. Written response, again, you could write for them, but you need to write exactly what they're saying, not change it up. Reduce questions, repeat back instructions for understanding. At some point, it's a comprehension and understanding of what you're saying, and they need to just repeat it back. Now, what did I say? Do you understand what we're doing? Should you circle all of them or just one? And that helps you and them to know what's really being absorbed in there. Modifications, we're going to reduce choices. We got extended time, read aloud, or one-on-one. I've already started doing one-on-one with some of my kids. I know they can do it, but being in whole group is very distracting for them, and so one-on-one is a good way to just help me know how and what they do know, instead of, well, they don't know it, but they do. They just needed it presented differently, and one-on-one is a good option for that. Now, you don't need a lot of time for that, so, it took maybe 2 minutes while the other kids were having a bathroom break, or changing out of their next book that they're going to be doing. Then you can move on to small groups. Group students based on similar standard or skill. Both our curriculum, CKLA and Go Math, have reteaching options. And you can look in your Go Math and they have that lovely triangle, and it tells exactly if this kid has the problem with this one, do this. Or if it's happening with this one, do that. And so that gives good options of what you can do when you're stumped. Because there's some things that you don't know how else to present addition when it's just putting 2 and 2 together. But I figured out with one of my kids that he was looking at his fingers, and he knew that if he had these up, this finger is a 6, so the answer is 6. But he forgot that he had put this one down, so the answer was really 5, and so he wasn't comprehending that you have to count all of them. So learning different ways that they present it, it'll help you to know how to move on in the process. Daily reteaching of standard or skill. You can do this one-on-one. You could do this whole group as well, and just specifically call on that child. It might be good to call on a higher student to give comfort in the class, and then another one would be comfortable answering as well. Progress monitoring. Recheck the standard for skill for mastery. You can base your small groups on standards or base it on skills. I know in class, for me, I base them more on skills that meet the standard. So I haven't gone through and found each standard, but that would be a viable way to do it for documentation. Any questions for I move on?
I believe in our at least our Go Math that we have an assessment that if they take it, it tells us exactly. I think it's IXL, exactly what standard it is that they are short on.
Oh, that'd be perfect.
And it also breaks down to what other child fits into that criteria, so it pretty much gives you your small group for
Perfect.
you.
So IXL does that for us.
Yes.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Well, that takes a lot of the guesswork out of preparing and saving you time.
Can you, with IXL, can you go back and, if they missed the skill
Yes, you can reassign it.
okay.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome. Alright, thank you, good questions. For tier 2, here's the timeline, and I know you want to look at that and think, oh my gosh, that's a long time for them not getting any further in the process. But as long as you are effectively and intentionally doing this, then it'll be effective. But if you are just saying, okay, well I started in October and it's already December and no one's done anything about it, you have got to start the process. It's got to start with the classroom teacher. So week 1 and 2, begin accommodations or modifications and notify Miss Lisa. If you're in tier 2, let her know. Starting it, I'm hoping to see progress, or this child is I'm going to need more help after this. Week 3 and 4, continue with those, then begin small groups based on unmastered skills. Check progress if needed. On the same skills that they were having trouble here, just, real quick, double check. Can you do this? No, well, let's continue. Or if they've got it, all right, well, that's great. And I can move on to another child or another skill. Week 5 and 6, continue with week 3, 4, plan. Progress through the next sequential skill needed to be mastered. Again, if you feel comfortable here, move on to the next one. If you don't, continue with this. You don't want to overwhelm them, but you do need to see progress. Week 7 and 8. By these weeks, you should evaluate based on skills needed. If little to no progress has taken place, request a meeting with the principal, and she will then plan out. Classroom teacher, principal, LEA will look at your data. That's why documentation is good. If you have nothing to present, then all these 8 weeks were useless. You've got to go back to week 1 and do 8 more weeks. You've got to have documentation so that you can prove what you've done, and so you don't have to redo it. Or I've already done this. Well, you didn't document it. Now you've got to document it. Work smarter, not harder. Documentation, the next step. You may continue with tier 2 or progress to tier 3. You might have to continue with tier 2. If you see progress, don't stop it and give up. But if you see no progress, something else is going on with the child. Any questions? Tier 2. All right, small groups. Here's some suggestions on how to start your small groups if you choose small groups as an intervention. I know when we have the kids all day long, you are more flexible in your scheduling, but if you only have kids for a certain block, you really need to be intentional with the time you're doing it, and you don't have a lot of time. 4 to 5 students per group. Less is fine. Less probably is better, so you can hone in on those skills. 1 to 2 skills per goal. Don't overwhelm yourself or the child, because you want to see progress. You need to see it for yourself, and they need to see it for themselves as well. 10 to 15 minutes per session with 1 to 2 groups per day. I only do 1 group per day, and we might meet in the morning and we might meet in the afternoon, but that's it, because these kids need as much time on those little skills as possible.
Okay,
Yes.
so if you're focusing on 1 skill, and then those maybe 4 kids, and you've got a different 4 kids that need a different skill. Are you doing the group like every other day?
I have my lowest group set to meet twice a week, and they're also getting interventions through our paraprofessional. And they're also getting interventions through our speech and language pathologist. So they're getting immersed in it. And the other groups, I will try to meet twice a day, but only 1 day a week. Yeah. Don't want to overdo it, but they do need that extra time with you. Don't overwork yourself. Work smarter, not harder. All right. Another thing, what will it look like? Prepare intentional materials based on skills and the group's on the skill the group needs. Over there behind my table, I have materials that I use. We use cards, we use books, we use flashcards. Our curriculum comes with little picture readers. They read those. Comes with book readers. We read those. Just those skills. If it's math, get out manipulatives. Get out as many as you can. They need hands-on. They need to build. They need to see. If it's subtraction, they need to see something go on. If it's adding, they need to see something to get bigger, so they can visually process it as well, not just auditory or written. Ask at a designated area. I have a table. Not every room has room for a table. Some kids take up a lot of room. So you might not have tables, but if your tables are already grouped together, then sit in a group. Just say, hey, we're gonna come over here. These 3 kids sit here. The rest of y'all, we'll talk about that. You will teach the students the importance of no interruptions when you have a small group. Okay? There's one teacher that when he starts small groups, they make a poster, and he'll say, you know, if you're on fire, you can interrupt me. If you're throwing up, you can interrupt me. If your arm has fallen up, you can interrupt me. If one of the Jonas Brothers comes through the doors, you can interrupt me. But other than that, no. These kids need my attention. You can wait. So it's important that the rest of the class know how important it is whenever you have a group. That just helps with their respect, because they know they want your time, and then they need to know when they're not with you, that group needs your time as well. No more than 15 to 20 minutes reteaching a skill. Okay? I mean, you can do it shorter than that as well. When you have the responses that you need, that you're looking for, good job. And they can be dismissed, because that'll give them the knowledge and the confidence that, oh, I got it faster this time. All right, what will the rest of the class be doing? Independent work. They're big kids now, especially by April. They can do independent work. Younger grades, learning centers, not toys. It's important that they are always challenged, even when they're away from you. We've got these learning stations where they focus on sound sort. We've got math ones. Over here, they're matching numbers. I got this at Sam's. You can find a lot of random things all over the place. Goodwill has a lot of good ones as well. You can create some. Also, I know this is for the youngers, but my kids have fallen in love with being the teacher. And they get to use everything except my pointers. They get to use everything, and they practice the words. And if they don't have anybody with them, they get the stuffies out and they pretend to teach the stuffies as well. So giving those kids independent work, set the rules and the policies. You have to continue working. My kids have station books. They take with them, and they have to write the date down and draw what they did that day. For older kids, they would need something to write down. Write the date down. They have to write out what they did to keep them active instead of getting in trouble, because there will be kids that will push the boundaries. Silent reading. Why not? We want the kids to read. Let's give them time to read. And if we can give them 15 to 20 minutes, that's 15 to 20 minutes they're reading and immersed into another world. Complete classwork after the skill is taught. Don't ever give a new page. Give them a page where you're like, oh, I know how to do this, and they'll feel confident doing it. And they will not interrupt you, because they're not going to ask questions, because they know how to do it. IXL or other district approved sites. I know my kids have been on our CKLA site, and they've learned it, but that's only been in the past 2 weeks. So make sure it's a site that they have been taught and know how to navigate without your help, because you, again, don't want any interruptions. They need to know the importance of their time working on their own as well. Any questions?
No.
All right, how do we get there? We look at data, we make a plan. There's IXL data. We recently got IXL data from Miss Christie after all those test scores, and that helps us know, okay, yeah, this child did good at the beginning, they did good at the end, or this child struggled at the beginning, and look at the progress, or, yeah, they're still struggling. So it hopefully will align with what you're doing in the classroom as well. DIBELS, ACT Aspire, and Renaissance scores. Renaissance has tons of data forms that you can look at to see the progress and exactly which skill they're struggling in. So that'll help with the literacy and math part. Create the groups, prioritize progress and growth. Any growth. Any growth. Be intentional. Don't let the students fall behind due to the lack of planning. There are weeks where I didn't plan, and so I didn't get to work with the kids, which means they didn't get that extra help, and that is a struggle for the child and for you. You're not going to feel good about yourself when your students are struggling. They're not going to feel good about themselves when they're not moving on like the other kids. So we have to be intentional as teachers. We have to be purposeful, and it will take a little extra time. RTI, this is a plan for meeting the needs of each student. You do not have to do this alone. It's a team effort. Celebrate success. Okay, when kids get it, hoop and holler. I don't care. Kids of all ages like to be celebrated. I like to be celebrated. You like to be celebrated. Hoop and holler, make it funny, make it silly. We're at school. We're serious all day long. Let's have fun and make them feel important when they have, they climbed the mountain. It was hard for them. So celebrate that success. Tier 3 interventions outside the classroom. I really wanted to focus on just Tier 2 in this, but I didn't want you to not know what's after Tier 2. So step 1, converse with Miss Lisa. This is after Tier 2 wasn't working. You need a change. She will conference with the interventionist to discuss the student's needs. That'll be her job. If she wants you to talk to them, they will come to you. Step 2, the interventionist will meet with you to discuss the time and plan. If they're able to pull, it's either going to be our math or literacy or our paraprofessionals. Discuss the timeline for the students, 4 weeks of reteaching the needed skills, and then check them. Check them if they're ready to move on to another skill, that's fine. If they need more time in this, you've got more time. Step 3, the classroom teacher, LEA, principal need to meet to discuss the next steps. The goal is for the child to gain the missing skills. However, with the vital Tier 2 and 3 interventions, the child may need to be referred. And that means special education. SPED referral, gather the intervention data. Again, that documentation from Tier 1, Tier 2, Tier 3 will help the process go faster. LEA will lead the next step. Jen Adams will take over after that. She'll get the parents' permission for testing, student screeners, evaluations, or tests with SPED teacher for co-op. She will make sure the forms get to Shelley as well for hearing and vision, because if that's the problem, that could fix everything. But if that's not the problem, we need to know real fast. LEA will plan the schedule meeting, discuss the plan for the student, and either create an IEP or placement to inform the student does not qualify for services. If there's not enough discrepancy between how they perform and how they answer, then they're not gonna, if that means they can do it. It's gonna be harder for them, but they can do it. Okay? Here's what it could look like. Classroom management. I use my board over there. I usually use picture clues to help them. This year I didn't. I fully regret that because some kids still can't remember where they go every day. But they know that they go with a certain group, and then if you can see the Pluto, that's the yellow group. So today I got to meet with yellow group and we worked on reading, and they did excellent. Teacher made charts. Mine's teacher made. Teacher resources. You can buy these things and organize it. This looks like Dollar Tree. Simple. You need to have expectations, and you need to model them so that they know what's expected of them. And don't expect to start this the first day of school. You've got to meet the kids. They've got to learn you maybe a couple weeks in. Small group rules and posters. I found this on Teacher Pay Teacher, so it's there for you. You just got to go looking for it. All right. Steps the RTI process. We talked about them. Intervention options. You can do small groups. You've got our materials, IXL, and then our interventions. And then classroom management. As long as they know what's expected, it'll help. There will be the kids that push the boundaries, but as long as it's just a few, it'll be a lot easier to manage than the whole class. All right, any questions?
Would you suggest, if you say your class has a lot of RTI issues, would you suggest, well, what if let me say it this way, if the whole building has lots of RTI issues?
Yeah, for sure.
How do you think we could help, like, as a building, in those interventions?
More communication and admitting where your faults are will help. More communication and supporting each other will help, and accountability. If no one's going to be holding you accountable, then you're not going to because no one cares. But if we can communicate more and hold each other responsible and be accountable. If someone's coming in there and you're asking for help, be honest with them, because that's why they're asking. They wouldn't ask if they didn't want to know. But the communication needs to be open, and you need to be receptive of that communication as well, because it may be criticism, but we're hoping that it can be, what's the word I'm looking for? Constructive. You don't want to make anyone feel bad. You want to encourage them to do better, because you know they can. In our CKLA, they encourage anecdotal records, and I wasn't sure how to approach that, so I just looked it up and then created my own. And I have a blank one, I'm not sure where it is, but these are a couple ones that I've used. And I just write their names down. Yes, there it is. I just write their names down, and whatever we're going over, like this was roll and rhyme, and I had a few, well, just one. I had to help a lot. She did not understand rhyme at all. This was domino addition. I had lots of goods and greats and struggles with counting and writing numbers. Still can't count. I mean, and this was March 15th. Still can't count. Still can't identify the numbers. He has to look every day at our posters, which I'm glad they're up there. But there's not a lot of independence for some. Good. This one, no tracking, good tracking, no tracking, good tracking. Does well and knows words. This helps when you go back to your reading groups or your small groups, and it helps you know, okay, this is all I need to work on with this child, and then I can dismiss them. Once they've got that, I can dismiss them. If you keep on working with them on those certain skills, it'll become natural to them. But this helps just with the
You just
organization.
keep that on a clipboard, right?
Yeah,
And
I just
just
keep it on the
right
clipboard. They do a lot of independence, and I just walk around the room, and they know. They know I'm watching for something. So they know if Lindsay's there, I'm either getting in trouble or she's writing down something good. So they expect it as well.
So is this something that you pass on to the next year's teachers, or where do these go when you're done with them?
I haven't used them before, and so I haven't decided where they would go, but I would keep them in case that teacher comes back down and says, hey, what did you do with this, and how did you approach it, or did they have troubles with this and struggle, and I can look, okay, well, yeah, she wasn't fluent in April, but she knew the words. Maybe she's forgot the words by the time she was first grade. This lets them know, well, this has been common, or this isn't common, and I need to worry more about it. Communication.
So it'd be logical to keep it at least a year.
It would be logical.
Right.
Communication. I wouldn't necessarily
Just
put it
didn't
in
know
their
if you were
folder.
gonna, cut them up and put them in their folder.
I wouldn't put it in their folder, because if they would look in their folder, they would know more. But
Right.
I don't know of many that actually look in their folders.
Right.
Anything else I wanted to encourage? But I like, yes, we need to communicate more. We need to accept responsibility, and we need to encourage accountability. Be in more classrooms, observe more. Have someone come in and observe you, or you go into them. I need to know what this lesson is. When I first started kindergarten, I was like, Jenny, I don't understand how to teach the phonemic awareness part. And so watching her and how she communicated and expected it, it helped. Just be open. That'll help us get to our response to intervention and be more effective, so our special education can be focused on kids with struggles and not kids that weren't properly taught. Any more questions?
Very informative, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for coming. If you have any questions, I can get you this PowerPoint as well, or if you would like to rewatch this, I can send it to you as well.
Absolutely.
Alright, thank you.
Thank you.